What's up, guys? This is going to be the top 5 deck list for the event that happened at Wildcard Cyclone. It was basically a 25th collection rarity tournament where the first place was able to get 2 boxes of 25th rarity collection, as well as the as well as the Ulti Book of Moon that was given out as a prizing. So this event had 27 players, a really good turnout for Wildcard Cyclone. Previous events had 28, so we were just missing one player. Maybe it was because of the weekend that they decided to do it, but I digress. So I'm going to go over the deck list. So in 5th place, we had a player by the name of Alex Kasian. A lot of you guys may know him as the resident quick draw player, but for this event, he decided to play his fun deck, which was the Gadget Stun deck. So it's a Gadget Stun deck because it plays other types of monsters and as well as oppression in the main deck. So it looks like he is on the he's on Gale as his only tuner monster to be able to synchro summon into Armor Master. Armor Master is a really good monster to synchro summon with a gadget because the gadgets all replace themselves. He also is on DD Warrior Lady to be able to banish monsters as well, and Grand Mole. So those are the 3 stun cards that he plays, as well as the oppression. But pretty much he plays a standard lineup. I don't agree that you should play 2 Machina Force, but he likes Machina Force at 2 because it's a Saki card that you can just top deck to bring out a Machina Fortress from the graveyard if you have everything set up. And he has the 3 Machina gear frames, so he does play the 3 compulsory to be able to recycle his gear frames to be able to search for the second force if he does have it. So I can see why he decides to play 2 force, because he does have the compulsory evacuation device. He does play the only 2 gadgets each because if you are on stun, you only play 2 of each gadget. You don't want to be able to clog your hands with too many gadgets. But I think that if you play multiple gadgets, you can essentially just discard them for the fortress if you have the fortress in your hand. He's on 1 Book of Moon, same as me. Also decided to play 1 Book of Moon because you don't need too many ways to. It is a neg 1, but it's a really good neg 1 because you can set cards like Thunder King Ryo, but also disrupt synchro plays as well, and that's a good trade for me. Also, you have the MST. He has the 1 MST and the Pot of Avarice. I don't play Pot of Avarice because I play 3 of each gadgets, so most likely I'll see my other gadgets. He plays the Avarice because he wants to recycle his Machina Force and also his gadgets, so he can keep summoning gadgets and then seeing more. So good theory on that one. He plays a 3 Smashing Ground, which is pretty standard because gadgets have a hard time running over big monsters that are above 1400 attack. So they need cards to run over monsters such as the Warrior Lady, Gale, and Machina Gear Frame. So good theory on him to be able to play both the stun package that can run over big monsters and also the Smashing Ground to deal with the big monsters. 2 Bottomless Trap Hole because you need a way to deal with monsters coming in, and it's a good trade because you're getting +1s. And then I already talked about the compulsory. Compulsory is really good in today's format, especially to be able to deal with Absolute Zero as a top deck. So you can top deck compulsory evacuation device to bounce back in Absolute Zero, and if you don't have a monster, then at least you're able to get a 1-for-1 trade on the Miracle Fusion. One card that he really loved was Dark Bribe. He plays a 3 Dark Bribe here to be able to lock out a lot of Saki cards such as Heavy Storm or True Nade if people still play that card. Cold Wave is another one too. This is a stun deck. He is on a lot of traps. I believe he plays, including the Book of Moon, he plays 5, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 traps. So he's going to have to find a way to deal with Decree as well as Heavy Storm so that his back rows are always going to be trading 1-for-1s. But yeah, he doesn't like using Dark Bribe on situations with Gemini Spark when he tries to use a Deep Prison. But he says that it is a necessary evil to have the Dark Bribe on the Gemini Spark. And he main decks 1 Dust Tornado, maybe to shut off floodgates, especially like Skill Drain. If people main deck Skill Drain in game 1s, he wants to be able to deal with the Skill Drain and with more copies of Spell and Trap Hate. In the event that Skill Drain is already active and he draws into a Dark Bribe, he would have other ways to deal with the Skill Drain, which I agree. He has the Mirror Force and he has the Royal Oppression. Mirror Force is really good to be able to deal with current monsters on the board and is a really good top deck. He main decks the 1 Oppression, and I think he side decks the second one, which is good. The Oppression is really useful in order to be able to deal with monster is that like to special summon if you go into game 1, such as GBs. So if you play against GBs, the oppression is really good in game 1. But if you don't play against GBs, and you play against decks that don't care about oppression in the main deck, such as heroes, then heroes actually is you can use this card against the Miracle Fusion, but everything else then it doesn't really do much. He plays a Solemn Judgment for the same reasons, to be able to protect his back row. So that's why he plays the main deck Solemn Judgment. And then the Torrential be Tribute, because you don't care about your monsters being Torrential because they replace themselves. And then you have he main decks the One Does Shoot, which I side deck instead of him main decking it, which is a good theory. He plays exactly 40 for consistency. So yeah, pretty not a standard deck. This is not a standard deck list, but it's very solid, I would say. So yeah, good on him. He plays a good amount of monsters, so he will never miss seeing a monster. Okay, in the side deck he has the 2 DD Crows for, I guess, for frogs, but also against like decks that need Miracle Fusion to resolve, and then the Miracle Fusion wasn't set up correctly. The other DD Warrior Lady to be able to deal with 1-for-1 trades against heroes, I believe. This is really good against Hero Beat, because you can banish the alias so that they don't resolve their Hero Blast against you. Then we have the 2 Fossil Dyna to be able to stun your opponent. I think he contemplated main decking this, because I don't think there's a deck in the meta that doesn't care about Fossil Dyna too much. I mean, I think that this card hits every meta deck in today's format, including Hero Beat too. So I think he contemplating on main decking these. He has the 2 Thunder King Riles against decks that like to search, such as zombies, and the Mirror Match for gadgets. So if he's playing against a gadget Mirror Match, he has the Thunder King Riles to deal with them. He has Trunade to deal with back rows, such as pulling the rug, as he has stated before. And any card that can just deal with gadgets when they get normal summon. Then he has the Lightning Vortex to deal with any monsters that get summoned, so he can just vortex them away. I think he uses for the Dupe Frog Lock, so that's really useful. And then he has the 2 Cross Out to be able to deal with flip effect monsters such as Rykos and Hamsters. And then he has the Twister in the main deck for skill drain, or any floodgates that might stop this deck. I can't think of much floodgates that stop gadgets other than skill drain. And then he has the 2 Restrict here to be able to deal with the Monarchs. So if people side deck Caius the Shadow Monarch, then the Restrict is able to deal with the is able to stop them from tribute summoning. Then he has the Oppression here in the side deck, so that when people side deck Cyber Dragon, I think he also side decks the Thunder King Royal for the same reason, that if people try to Contact Fusion, he can just tribute the Thunder King Royal to negate the Chimera Tech Fortress or the Cyber Dragon, so they can't Contact Fusion. So he has ways to deal with the overall being able to stop special summon. I think he also said that Master Restrict is good against Hero Beat, so that they can't Gemini Spark and deal with all of his trap cards. So I think that's why he plays that. He says he only sides this against pro Hero Beat players. So if you're not a pro Hero Beat player, then he will not side this against you. And then his pretty much his extra deck's pretty much solid. The only thing I think he said he would go into is the Armor Master and the Black Rose. But other than that, I think for the majority of his side deck, he just uses this for the Cyber Dragons, and then going forward, that he's going to use this for the Starlight Road. But he doesn't play, so the starters here is pretty much could be anything he says, but definitely have the Armor Master and the Black Rose Dragon. 4th place, this guy actually got to the finals, but due to his tiebreakers, he got knocked down to 4th place in Swiss. So in 4th place, we got a player by the name of Albert Gutierrez. So congratulations to him. He was able to get to the finals, so it was a finals mirror match with Value Turbo, and so Value Turbo has like little nuanced cards that you play and take out. He was not on the Chaos Sorcerer line that is now seeing a lot more play, so he decided not to play these Chaos Sorcerer. He's also not playing the Lila, which was the new way of playing Value Turbo. So instead of playing Lila, I think he just decided to play more Hamsters and a Spirit Reaper. So this variation of Value Turbo is playing the Spirit Reaper line because I think he just wants to have a good matchup against Hero Beat to be able to basically buy more time, I think, to be able to stall out against Hero Beat, so that he can draw into his monsters to pretty much turbo it out. So he's on the Spirit Reaper. Speed Reaper also has utility where you can attack your frog matchups to attack and hit a Gores out of hand or a Monarch out of hand, so they can't capitalize. And then we got the Allure of Darkness, pretty standard spells, nothing out of the ordinary. So yeah, he does main deck the Dust Shoot, and he has 2 Armageddon Knight. I guess Armageddon Knight is not as popular as the 2 of. He probably only main decks, most value player only main decks 1, but he plays the 2 here because I guess he wants to play the good grind game, where you can send the value continuously after turn 3 or 4. So not much else about the main deck. He also has his 2 Cyber Dragon for the Machina matchup, but it's just a really good staple side deck. He has one DD Crow. I guess DD Crow is falling out of favor, especially since people are playing around this in game 2 and 3. But I think he sided this for the Frog matchup solely. He also has the 2 Passionate Cephalo. It seems like a staple in everyone's side deck in that weekend. And then we also have Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, so that you could prevent people from soul releasing you and also DD Crowing you when you try to do a DD Crow play. And then we have the Compulsory Evacuation Device, the second one to deal with the mirror match. The 2 Deck Devastation Virus, because it's a good card in general to be able to hit, get a plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, depending on the situation against certain decks. Also, getting hand knowledge is pretty big too. So people are side decking only 1 nowadays. So he is on 2. So I guess he wants to go for the consistency over not. He has a 2 Dust Tornado just in case he wants to deal with I guess Shadow Imprisoning Mirror if people side deck that card against him. But Shadow Imprisoning Mirror is really bad because he has a Raikou to deal with it. So any Floodgates, I think this is mainly for the Hero Beat matchup so that he can hit cards that matter. So he can go OTK. I think that's the main idea behind Dust Tornado. He main decks he side decks the 1 Mind Crush. Not entirely sure why he side decks the Mind Crush, but my guess is he just wants to hit Battle Fader or any Gores when he goes for lethal going second. But that's all the reason I can think for. Maybe if he plays against heroes or gadgets, Mind Crush is also really good against that too. He also has a 2 Pulling the Rug for most matchups, so not much to explain. And then he also side decks the Starlit Road. Maybe he side decked this card if he decides to go first, even though it does conflict with the 2 Oppression in his main deck, which is really strange that he decided to main deck the Oppression in the main deck. But I guess he wants to hit Battle Fader, so I guess that's the idea behind that, to be able to hit Battle Fader and then go for game. So I think that's the reason why he main decks the Oppression. And not the Starlit Road. The extra deck is pretty standard. I'm not going to go into it because it's Value Turbo. There's really no need to go to Value Turbo that hard. In third place, this is going to be my deck list, but I tweaked it a little bit after the tournament. So if you guys want to see the new deck list, this would be the profile for it. If you guys want to watch my deck list that I took for the tournament, then I'll have it on a different video if you guys want to watch that one. So just check out my channel and then find my my Gadget Theory deck profile. So I call this deck a Gadget Theory because if you guys want to get the quick rundown, the whole point is to be able to abuse my By Order of the Emperor. Since Pulling the Rug is a really good card in today's format, being able to negate and destroy a lot of the effects that activate on normal summon, such as Caius and Debris Dragon and Deep Sea Diva. This is what's more like both a meta call, but also a good main deck card because you can theoretically normal summon a gadget. And if you have a second gadget in your hand, then the gadget in your normal summon can be negated by Order of the Emperor, and then you can draw a card. So theoretically, you want to be able to draw into your spells and traps, such as Solidarity, be able to put it on a lot of pressure, but also your trap cards as well, to be able to fend off against your opponent's attacks on your opponent's turn. So that's why I played By Order of the Emperor. I don't fear Black Rose because this can negate Debris Dragon. From summoning the Dandelion from the graveyard. This can negate Caius in the Frog matchup. So it's a really good card to main deck, and I think going forward, when I decide to play a gadget deck, this would be a consideration that I would like to have in the main deck. I do play the Solidarities because theoretically, I can run over any of the hero monsters, such as Alias. Being able to threaten a D prison with a gadgets or threaten a Gemini Spark is the idea with the Solidarity because all my monsters are above 1900 once I have a Solidarity out there. If I have 2 Solidarity out there, then I'm running over a lot of different synchro monsters. So that's the idea behind Solidarity, and that's why I really like it. It does conflict a little bit with the Starlight Road because if I bring out a Stardust and it goes to the graveyard, then the Stardust would be a dragon, and then it would shut off all my Solidarity. So only use Starlight Road if you feel like you need to resolve this for lethal. Otherwise, don't resolve the Starlight Road to bring out the Stardust. Keep the Stardust in the extra deck. If you only need to bring out Stardust, do so. To protect your other back rows, because Stardust is able to negate at least an MST on your Solidarity. But I would actually let Solidarity resolve often so that my Stardust is still on the field. So yeah, that's my idea for Solidarity. I only play the Machina Force because I only want to search it with the gear frame. I don't want to open up with this, because if you open up with this and you don't have a way to get the Fortress, then it becomes a -1. That's why I only play one. And then I have the one Book Moon to Disrupt, one MST, the 3 Smashing Ground, the standard gadget stun control deck. I made deck the 2 compulsory because I can bounce back my gadgets and my Machina gear frame to search for Fortress. That's why I play the compulsory. The 3 Gear Prisons, it's standard because it's a really good battle trap, and then the Mirror Force as well. And then I have the 2 Ultimate Offering. This is a, what was it? My theory behind this. So the idea behind this is that I have this in tandem with the By Order of the Emperor. I normal summon a bunch of gadgets, and then on the 5th summon of the gadget, or if I, on the 5th zone, when I summon a gadget, I want to negate it and then draw a trap card. So that's the idea behind By Order of the Emperor, or a Solidarity. So that's the idea behind Ultimate Offering. But I understand that this card is not as good in this format, so oftentimes I will side deck out a Ultimate Offering for a trap card that's better against that matchup. In the side deck, I do side deck the Oppression for the Cyber Dragon. That's kind of the theory behind it. It's not good in main deck because I don't want to face off against the multitude of decks in EDISON that don't care about Oppression too much. I side deck the Dust Shoot and the Heavy Storm. So these are 2 cards I believe that you should always side deck as opposed to main deck for gadgets. For gadget stun. So Heavy Storm should always be main deck in a deck that doesn't play a lot of back rows. But if you have a lot of back rows, then you should side deck this card because you don't know if you're going first or second, and if you go first or second, you're going to be setting the back rows. And I don't want this in going first because one of my back rows can either be a By Order of the Emperor or Ultimate Offering, and if either or are in my hand and I set them, then the Heavy Storm is basically useless going first. So that's why I side decked it this card. I want to have this going first or going second, so I can Heavy Storm the back row and then just normal summon a gadget, like, and do my my usual business. And then I side deck Dust Shoot against decks that have a huge monster hand. So especially against Frogs. Frogs is one of those cards that are one of those decks that like to keep a big hand size because they play battle hand traps such as Battle Fader, Gorge, and Tragodia, I think, and then also Light Sworns as well. So that's why I side that. Other decks, if you play against Hero Beat going first, I really don't like having this going first against or going second against Hero Beat because they'll set their back row and I can't do anything. I will always side this card against gadget stuns or gadget decks, so because they're always going to keep a large hand size even though they are setting back row. I will continue to side deck. In going forward, I want to side deck Light Imprisoning Mirror because theoretically, Light Sworns is a really bad matchup because they can drop a bunch of JDs and you can't do anything. So this is a really good card to side deck against Light Sworns. I don't side this against anything else. I don't side against maybe I sided this against Fairies, but Fairies is a very hard deck that to pilot, and so very few people deter away from playing it. So yeah, but theoretically you can side deck this against Fairies. I do have the 2 Dust Tornadoes just because it's a really good card to deal with like skill drains. If people side deck that card still in today's format, I think skill drains are a really good card in today's format if people are awakened to it. But hey, what are you gonna do? Dust Tornadoes also good against Decrees too. So if I have this set and they set a Decree, I can Dust Tornado. Good against back row decks such as Hero Stun. So Dust Tornado is just putting in a lot of work. This is mainly for Frogs to stop the Dew Frog lock. So if I'm going first against them and they try to do the whole lock, I can just chain Disappearance on the Dew Frog or the Substitute to prevent the Dew Frog from coming out, and then I can just deal with everything. I side the Soul Release. You can also side this card against the Treeborn that comes out if you draw this card later. So this card actually has value going later. So you can hit all the Treeborn Frogs out of a person's deck, and they would have to find a way to tribute summon for a Caius to capitalize on the play, but I imagine Caius gets shut off by Order of the Emperor. I also have the Soul Release in the side deck as well to be able to deal with Light Sworns because to be able to deal with Lightsworn's names and prevent the JD from coming out is kind of the idea. I do side deck the Nobleman Cross out because it's really good against Quick Draw and Vayu Turbo, as those are the two decks that like to set cards in today's format. And then going forward, I wanted to side deck the Cyber Dragon, which I didn't do for the tournament, but it's really good in theory because your Cyber Dragon become a 2900 attack. It forces out Thunder King Ryos, and it also runs over aliases. So this is a really good card to have because I don't have to rely on Solidarity to run over my opponent's monster. Okay, and then I have only two cards I want to show you in the extra deck, which is Chimera Tech and the Stardust, because I don't have a tuner in this deck, and neither do I play Brain Control in the main deck. I don't like Brain Control because you're unlikely going to be able to steal a tuner monster to go into your synchro monsters, so there's no point in playing Brain Control in this deck at all. So yeah, that's my Gadget Theory deck. It's a pretty interesting deck in theory. I'll probably go play it again in the future, but right now I'm probably going to go move on to the next good idea because I'm a content creator. In second place, we got a player by the name of Gerardo Vargas, who got second place with Hero Beat. He decided to go for a 42 card count with only 2 emergency calls, which is pretty crazy to think about. To only have 2 emergency calls in your 42 card deck, so there's more likelihood that you will not see your hero monsters, and also he doesn't play upstarts, so he's not playing cards to thin out his deck to see the alias. But it turned out to be good for him. He got second place, so I can't say much. He does play the Wing Blast, which is not standard for the Hero Beat matchup. So I guess the theory behind the Wing Blast is that he can discard an alias with the Wing Blast, and then flip the Hero Blast so that he can get a +1. It's also really good against decks that he has trouble running over big monsters. I think in the mirror match, Wing Blast is really good against Absolute Zero. And also being able to deal with the Dupe Frog lock in the main deck is also another way that he has a spot removal for the Dupe Frog lock, so that they top deck into a Dupe Frog and then they have a dead card. So I see the theory behind the Wing Blast. So yeah, he has the Starlight Road to be able to block out any heavy storms. Because he does have a hefty amount of traps. If you include the Gemini Spark as an interruption trap, then that's 3, 6, 7, 10, 13, 16, 19. So he has 19 traps. And if you include the Honest, that's 21. And if you include the Gores, that's 22. So that he plays a pretty much standard lineup for heavy for Hero Beat. He has a 2 Gilman so that he has ways to access his level 5 synchros twice in a game. And then he plays the Gores, which is also, I believe Gores is coming in and out of Hero Beat matchups, Hero Beat deck lists. I don't like Gores, but I can see it being useful against like the mirror match. If you can drop the Gores early, then the Gores is able to trade with a lot of back rows and as well as Gemini Sparks, opposing Gemini Sparks. But other than that, it seems pretty standard. He does main deck the Heavy Storm, so pretty interesting card to main deck, especially with Hero Beat. But I think it's pretty much decided that you should always main deck Heavy Storm in Hero Beat, even though you play a lot of traps. So the idea is to be able to use up all your traps on your opponent's turn, and then once you use up all your traps, then a top deck Heavy Storm or a kept Heavy Storm going first will be able to clear out the back row and then set more traps. He side decks the 2 Consecrated Light for the Blackwing matchup, and I believe Vayu too, but I don't think Vayu is a card that you want to side deck Consecrated Light in, so this is strictly for the Blackwing matchup. He side decks the 2 Cyber Dragon in case he plays against any Machina, and he did actually play against Machina, which was me, and he actually was able to special summon the Cyber Dragon in Contact Fusion for, I believe, 2, so it wasn't too bad of a Contact Fusion. Then he side decks the 2 the Pachycephalo, because he has a lot of trap cards to protect his Pachycephalo. Other than that, it's really good against like every deck, so there's really no need to worry, especially against frogs. You can stop the Battle Fader and the Treeborn Frog from coming out. He plays the 2 Kaiku Tube, most likely also for frogs, but also against people who side decks DD Crow against him or Soul Release. So if you side deck either the Soul Release or the DD Crow, the Kaiku is going to prevent the DD Crow from. It's basically a counter side strategy. This is good against Vayu as well, to be able to banish the Vayu and also prevent the Vayu from being banished. So it's a Vayu Turbo side deck. He side decks the one Grand Mole for any deck that utilizes Synchro monsters such as Value Turbo and also Absolute Zero mirror matches. So any sort of Absolute mirror match, he can just deal with it. Two Snowmanners for any Hero Beat matchups in the side deck. Snowmanner is really good in the Hero Beat, especially in the Dam Step, being able to destroy an alias to prevent the Gemini Spark from being live. So it's basically a 2-for-1 until they draw another alias. And then we have the Soul Release here to be able to deal with any Lightsworn matchups. If they have names in their graveyard, you can just banish them. I think he also sided this for frogs too, to be able to banish all the Treeborn frogs. Super Poly, I think that's for the mirror match so that you could synchro or you can fusion away your opponent's water monsters or their hero monsters, and then they can't chain their Gemini Spark. So that's a way you can utilize to dodge or circumvent the Gemini Spark, and then fusing away their alias with their hero monster with the Super Polymerization sounds really good in theory. And then he has a tool Pulling the Rug because Pulling the Rug hits a lot of different decks and a lot of different cards in the meta deck. No need to explain that one. And then his extra deck's pretty standard. He does only play the one Catastor instead of two for Hero Beat. So he does play the two Android, but not only one Catastor. I guess he just likes Android better because it's a 2400 beat stick against Blackwings, and also gains you life points. But other than that, you have the standard Synchro monsters that normally plays, the level 6s to be able to OTK with the Miracle Fusions if you have it. But it doesn't OTK because it brings him down to like 100 life points, I think. Because this is not Diva Heroes, this is Diva Hero Beat. Diva Hero would allow you to go use the Malicious for the OTK. So it puts a lot of damage in, with the Bryanak being a water monster and then having the Absolute Zero be bumped up to 3,000. So it'd be like 3,000 and then 23, which is 5,300 life points. So he'll need to find a way to put 2,700 damage on top of that, which is really difficult with the Deep Sea Hero, the Deep Sea Diva. Okay, so that's enough for the second place deck list. So congratulations to Gerardo Vargas. And in first place, we have another value deck. So this was the winner of the event, and he was able to take it with the Value Turbo. If you guys want to watch his deck list, well, actually, we didn't do a deck list because he didn't have time to do a deck profile. So I'm going to do one for him on his behalf. So the difference is between this and Albert's list was that he went with the Lila, and he went with one hamster and the Chaos Sorcerer. So he likes the power cards. He likes the proactive plays. He thinks Value Turbo is a aggro deck, not a deck that likes to play the soft game. So he's even on only 2 Raikos as opposed to 3, and he has a Charged Light Brigade. So he's definitely playing an actual Value Turbo list. He's on Gale as well. I don't think Albert played Gale. Let me double check here. Yeah, so he is actually on Gale as well. So, and he also plays the Gores to be able to put a lot of pressure on the board on the clapback. If they try to push with the Gores, then you basically want to turbo out and kill them. So this is an actual Value Turbo deck, as it is able to push a lot of damage in. He plays a Compulsory to probably set card to bounce back set cards and then go for game. So yeah, pretty solid list, especially since he's playing a very turbo list. He plays a 2 Greffer as well as the Reinforcement of the Army, and only 1 Armageddon Knight as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. His side deck's pretty standard. We already know the reason why we are playing Kaiku, because it prevents DD Crow and Soul Release, and he's only on 1 deck Devastation Virus in case he wants to go pretty ham on the paint. And then the 1 Mind Crush and the 2 Royal Oppression. His extra deck's pretty standard. I think the Thought Ruler is probably the only thing that's interesting, but other than that, it's pretty standard. I think he can go into the Army Arm, Colossal Fighter, or OTK loop, but you have to find a way with by flipping Raiko, normal summoning the Plague, and then making the Armory Arm, and then make the Arm Wing if you have it, and then top deck for Plague, and then make the Colossal Fighter. So I think he plays that combo. I'm not sure if Albert plays that combo, but he has it in his deck list. But yeah, that's all the deck list for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the deck list commentary video, and then I'll see you guys on the next event that I decided to cover, and hopefully I'm able to get a deck list as well for those events. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.